All right, what is going on, everybody in Atlanta Bird Gangland? And here in my timeline, we are starting this thing up today. Post game today. Atlanta Falcons finish off their worst campaign since 2014. Finished the year 4-12. There are some of you out there with leftover things from the season celebrating this win. I hope you're not celebrating too much. It's still your team. But Atlanta Falcons finish up the year 4-12, lose for the second time in 2 weeks to Mr. Brady and his lucky Buccaneers. You kind of hate that. Only thing I hate about that game from a personal standpoint, Mike Evans, who I have nothing against. I think Mike Evans getting lost, not being able to probably play his playoff game. I got a feeling he is really hurt. So it's going to be interesting to see how they go at there. If you see the sleeveless one in the right, I'm trying to see if he can get his camera on live. That is brother John Harris. And I'm trying to see if he has his stuff together. He doesn't at the time, so I'm going to remove him and see if he can get his video right. Okay, folks, let's talk about it. The Atlanta Falcons lose again, this time 44-27. To me, this may signal the end of the thought that Raheem is probably going to keep this job. Where you talk about Tampa Bay, or maybe it was just the fact that Tampa Bay had our number. Maybe it's just the fact that Tampa Bay just has us now. Tom Brady destroys us again, and I don't know. That's just it just not a good look for what we're doing. Just not good at all. All right, if y'all want to talk about it, it's 1-877-747-2346. If you look at this from a positive standpoint, the positive is we didn't get a lot of people hurt. A lot of people were hurt in this game. Matt Ryan, listen, folks. It's a polarizing thing to talk about, Matt. We're going to, you know what? I'm going to hold off on that. Offense looked pretty good today. Had some good things going on. Actually rushed the ball kind of effectively. But when you get behind, it's kind of hard to go back and forth when your defense is giving Brady play after play after play. So from that standpoint, you just got to look and say, it's time to get somebody else in here to tighten this team up a little bit. Let's go with everybody. Willie Pitts, how you doing, sir? Napoleon, I said, I want Justin Fields. We're going to get to that in a second. Dallas just lost. I'm really happy now. Dallas did lose the game to the Giants, or are about to lose the game to the Giants. They'll be eliminated. David Stark, that's up. Dave said 1-5 in the division. That does Raheem Morris candidacy for this job. We'll see. Gregory looks like a new quarterback this year. John Everett, the VP train wreck is over for this season. We don't put any pressure on the quarterback. PJ says 2 5-game losing streaks. Rusty, what moves would you think will be made tomorrow? Gregory, what's going on, man? Say glad the bleeding has stopped. Now we can focus on the next year and the future. Derek defense gave up 40-plus points, and I think that's the first time they did that this year. Leeds, and finally this nightmarish of a season is over with. And all those comments are true. It is over with. And when we start talking about what's going to happen in the future, I know everyone's going to talk about what's about to happen and what's next on the agenda for the Atlanta Falcons. I'm trying to get my buddy John Harris in here, so y'all be patient with me. He's probably trying to get his camera situation straight, but I'm gonna talk about a couple of things. It's kind of ridiculous to even talk about the game at this point. The season is over with, but going into the new year, I wanted to point out some things before we started on the phone calls and listening to some of you guys' opinion on what we're talking about, because we're gonna have plenty of time to go over who's gonna be the quarterback, who's gonna be the coach, who's gonna be the GM. We have super plenty of time with that. We still have a month to go before the playoffs are over with. So if I do end up kind of skipping over you and feel like, we're gonna, not get into the debate about Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, we're gonna have plenty of time to get to that. But today is kind of like an ode to the season and really what happened. And we know what happened. The Falcons didn't show up this year. We had a horrible start to the season. We tried to get rid of that as much as we could when we, got rid of Dan Quinn. But as we see in these last couple of games, especially the two games from Tampa Bay this year, which I can argue might be the two worst games we played this year, we need something different to kickstart this team. I don't know. I really don't know what it is, but it is time. Dre says the new regime, welcome. Jimmy says, I want us to draft Fields, so those who think Matt has been an issue sees it as not. Is Matt perfect? No, but after that showing from the defense, anybody can get cut. Darius says, so what pick do we officially have? Right now, we are still at number 4, but it could be interesting because if Houston knocks off, with Miami losing the game, and if Houston loses the game, Houston, I think, still stays ahead in the 3rd position. But here's the thing, folks. If you're talking about future QB, who cares? Houston is not drafting a quarterback. If your dreams for this team is getting a quarterback, we're fine, because you have Jacksonville right now, who's probably more than likely going to get Trevor Lawrence unless somebody gives them an offer they can't refuse. The Jets are still wishy-washy on Sam Darnold. And to be quite honest with you, once you made that investment in that pick with him, it is going to be interesting to see if the next regime coming into the Jets want to stick with him or not. So what it comes to is we're going to have the 3rd pick this year. We're going to have the 3rd pick of a quarterback this year. And that's what you have to look at, folks. I am not ignoring the linebacker from Penn State. I'm not ignoring the offensive tackle from Oregon. I'm not ignoring the pass rusher from USC. I'm not doing that, folks. But what I'm saying is you have to think about what's new. I know David says Miami gets the kick. I know, but it depends on what Houston does. If Houston, I keep saying Houston, but Miami gets the pick, and it's the same scenario. Miami doesn't need a quarterback. So I know what you're talking about, Dave. Miami doesn't need a quarterback. Miami or Houston. So I know Miami gets the pick, but they don't need a quarterback. But thanks for clarifying that. But I came through. Jimmy says this season can be blamed on blank. He was too shy to cut Quinn when he had the shot. He allowed Quinn to stamp his imprint on his team too much. Now we have to move into the smart realization. Michael says Ryan played his behind off because he has heard the rumors and didn't want a quarterback drafted. Well, you know what, Michael? I don't think that's going to stop a quarterback from getting drafted. Dub says the damage was done before Quinn was axed. Actually, Dub, we should have made that move last year, and at least we would be the first year into the retooling. So, yeah, I kind of blame ownership for that, for sticking with those guys too much. Rise up, my brother RJ. Forbro says Gage needs to get his respect for what he did this season. Gage always had my respect. I think from the moment they made that trade with Sanu to New England, I said to myself, that was a steal of a second rounder, because I still think Hurst is a really good tight end. He just didn't get a chance to get into the game like we need to. We see Hurst is not a bad tight end. And definitely, you know what? I argue an upgrade over what Hooper gave us. Try to argue me down. I think he was an upgrade. And go see what Hooper's doing right now with Cleveland for the money that they paid him. Yeah, I'll take that Hurst deal any day. Clayton says we need a running back, Etienne and or Harris, but we're not going to get. You're not going to draft Najee Harris with the number 3 or 4 pick in the NFL. You just can't draft a running back that high. It's too many running backs out there to go that high to get him. I'm not saying he's a game-changing talent. I'm not saying he has the ability to do some things, but you can't on this team draft a running back that high. What you need on this team is a franchise-changing player, a franchise, somebody who is showing that we are going into a new era. This is why I don't care how great Matt Ryan played today. I don't care how great Matt Ryan played yesterday. I am still happy for what Matt Ryan has given us in the past, but it is time to move on. You do not, as a franchise, get a top 5 pick, unless you're Cleveland, get a top 5 pick every 2 or 3 years. This is an opportunity. This is the highest the Falcons will have picked in since Matt Ryan. Since Matt Ryan was picked, that's the 3rd pick in the draft back in 2008. This is your highest pick you've had. You have to make a decision. And I'm talking to the GM coming in with the Atlanta Falcons. You have to make a decision for the future. And I'm telling you right now, and it's going to be unpopular with some folks, you have to go at this second, unless there are flaws seen, with Justin Fields as your pick, if possible. And I'm going to tell you why. And I'm just going to be flat out in saying it, folks. This fan base, this city, this franchise needs an infusion. And it needs an infusion of excitement. You have clinched the number 4 at least pick in this draft. You must get somebody who's going to show that the Falcons are looking toward the future. And when you do that even if we're not going to be great, which I'm getting ready to get to in 1 second, and we'll get to some of the other comments, even if you're not going to be great, that shows that you're going in the right direction. That shows that you don't think number 2 is going to lead you into the next decade. That you're thinking ahead, that you're saying, yep, number 2 is probably going to be here, but we got an eye for the future. You must think in that direction. Now, of course, we know from January to March, when all the combines and all the measurables and all of that stuff, people are going to go up, down, all around. You're absolutely correct. But as far as getting the hometown boy who just ended up throwing 6 touchdowns against a heavily favored Clemson team in the semifinal last week, played injured, showed a lot of heart. You're going to bring the Georgia boy back home to basically the hometown to infuse this fan base. I think it's a good move. I think if you go out and get Parsons from Penn State, who is nice. If you go out and get Surtain, which we need, another cornerback, that's nice. If you go out and get Sewell from Oregon and bring him in to play on your offensive line, that's nice. But we are at a point in this franchise where you have a new GM and a new coach coming in, probably with asterisk, coming into this organization. You have to show these fans and everyone else that you mean business. It's time to change the climate in this organization. And I think it starts with that at this moment on January 3rd. That's my thoughts. That's my thoughts. Okay, let me get some of these comments because I know some of y'all are not going to like that, but it is what it is. I think that's how you do it. John Everett, Fields beat Alabama. We won't get him. Don't be fooled on that. Miami. Okay, Miami got Houston pick. I kept talking about Houston, but what Houston does, and that's what I was putting it in the framework of, y'all. What Houston does depend. Miami has to pick literally, but it depends on what Houston does. Houston goes out and wins the game. Miami has the 4th pick. I probably should have put it in that term, so I'm sorry for that. I think with Gage and Ridley, we may be able to move on from Julio. I'll get to that in a second. Browns heading to the playoffs. I know. A running back. Look at Kamara. Exactly. Listen, the right GM and the right scouts can find a running back in the 2nd round, 3rd round. It's possible. They stole Jonathan Taylor from the Colts in the 2nd round this year. And look at what he's doing. The cat down in Jacksonville, balling. They stole him because scouts saw something in him. The coaching staff saw something in him. It doesn't always have to be the flashy number 1 pick. It just has to be somebody that fits your scheme. And that's the hard part right now for the Falcons because you don't know who's coming in here with the scheme. You don't. Clayton says, New Orleans, no, it's time to move on. Any running back. Tidy, fact, thank you, Tidy. How you doing, young man? Happy New Year. Clayton, Jake Matthews was picked 4, I think. Was he the 4th pick or was he down further than that? You could be right, Clayton, and you could be right. Sewell might go number 2 to the Jets. I hope he does, Justin. Dub J, no arguments with over here what you said. Shin, thank you, Falcons, for not winning because all a win would have done is ruin our draft pick to move up. Do you consider taking it? Tidy Jones, Trey Sermons in the 4th round would be a great get. See, that's the type of folks that I'm talking about. Look, and not only that, somebody who's coming on late. I know that when he played with Oklahoma a couple of years ago when they beat Georgia, when Georgia beat Oklahoma, I apologize. And everybody forgot about him. Then all of a sudden, the Northwestern game, he goes for 330. And then you see him run all over Clemson over a pretty top-notch defense. See, that's a cat right there. That's sneaky. That's a sneaky guy. That's a strong cat, too. You see that balance he has? Sneak him in the 3rd or 4th round. That's the kind of thing you need from your GM. That's the type of thinking that you need to have. You don't have to get Najee Harris. Let somebody else overreach for him. If we are at franchise change moment, folks. We are not at one player. We need a franchise changing person in this draft. And your franchise change comes from either a quarterback or an out of this world defensive player. See Washington and what Chase Young is doing up there. No doubt. My brother Morals King. Hey, Morals, Happy New Year, brother. But you're right, edge rusher. We absolutely need an edge rusher, my brother. Absolutely. Lee, will the next regime get to decide if we go for a quarterback or stick with Matt Ryan? Will Blank's blind loyalty to him keep him here? We got to move on from 2016. We got to move on. 2016 was the end of the road for this team. Now, he did say, Lee, a little earlier this year when we got rid of Dan Quinn, that it's going to be up to the new general manager coming in what the future of Matt Ryan is. They did not commit. They did not commit to having Matt Ryan. Brother Willie, what's going on? Jay Matthews was 6th pick. I thought he was, Tidy. I'm pretty sure this is the highest pick we're going to have since 2008. But Lee, back to that. Arthur Blank said in an interview, which he did online on the Falcons website, that he was not he gave Matt all the kudos in the world, but said it's up to the new regime what we do. Here's the thing that doesn't change that for people who want to say loyalty. The loyalty was done 2 years ago when we signed him to the contract, folks. There's nothing you can do about that now. You can cut him all you want to and pretend like, let's get him out of here. But there are the advantages of keeping Matt Ryan on this team, folks. If you have Justin Fields and you happen to draft him right now, and let's step back a minute. There is one quarterback in this draft who I really feel that can step on the field game one in the NFL and looks like he might be ready. And I'm just keeping it real. And I think that's Trevor Lawrence. From a Justin Fields standpoint, would you love to be able to get Justin Fields, let him go through some type of training camp, let him learn under a 13-year vet, a former MVP, a person who stays out of trouble, a person who stays out the media, a person who has been professional the whole time he's been here. Nobody's talking about talent on the field. Nobody's talking about how he throws the ball. Nobody's talking about how he escapes the pocket, but a professional NFL quarterback. Let me throw this scenario at you. Would you want him learning under Cam Newton? Think about that. RJ Smith says Dirk Cutter needs to be fired by 5 p.m. Today. What I told my son probably about less than 30 minutes ago, I said Dirk Cutter used to be in Tampa Bay. I'm sure he has a home down there. Right before they get on that Delta charter, somebody needs to stop him at the bottom of the steps and say, Mr. Cutter, sir, we're going to have to go through some extra protocol for you, and just move him off to the side, and he doesn't get on that plane going back to Atlanta. I don't think you're going to have to worry about that, folks. I think Dirk Cutter is as good as gone when you get back. I think that was a surprising move that didn't work. I really am. I must admit, I think I was surprised that didn't work. Let me go back in here. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm trying to catch up with some of these comments. Thank y'all for commenting. My fingers aren't that fast. Derek says the Ohio State running back is decent. That's what you're talking about, Sermon. Jimmy says, my guy I want is Sewell. He's the most complete guy, yet you get a franchise tackle for 8 to 10 years. But here's the problem with that, Jimmy. You can get an offensive tackle all you want as your number 3 or 4 pick. We have a new general manager. You're going to have a new scouting team in here. You're going to have new coaches in here. Why not bring in a new leader of your team, a future leader of your team? This doesn't mean that Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Matt Jones, who I'm kind of so on, that's not meaning that they're going to start day one. Matt Ryan's going to be here. Folks, get your head straight with that right now. And I'm getting ready to go through that in the 2021 thing. He's going to be here. You stuff Justin Fields on that field, let him learn behind a veteran, and you move on. That's how you do that. Rusty say, I think if we end up 3 or 4, it's worth calling New York to see how much they want for that second pick. It wouldn't take much to move up 1 or 2 spots. They're 50-50 on Darnold. It's worth talking to. It's definitely worth talking to them about it. But again, that's a new regime coming into the Jets as well. So they have a chance to jumpstart their franchise with a new quarterback. That's why I'm thinking whoever's coming in, you have to have a major, and we'll find out soon. And I'm trying to tell y'all, if they move on from Darnell, if they move on from him, we could forget probably Justin Fields. I don't know, though. A lot of people have been trying to, I know Todd McShay just moved Zach Wilson ahead of him, and Zach Wilson is nice too. I don't want to sleep on that. It wouldn't hurt my feelings if Zach Wilson was picked in that position. I actually like him too. But that Justin Fields, it could be a redemption thing. Georgia threw you away, but the Falcons brought you back. The Falcons brought you back where you really belong. Frank says trade back for Pitts. Frank, you can't change unless you had pieces you were sure about, Frank. If you had a blip season, Frank, if you had a season where your quarterback got hurt, major people on your team got hurt, and you just happened to end up in that number 4 position where you were solidified at quarterback, solidified as an edge rusher. And let me finish this. Solidify as an edge rusher. Then I would think about trading back. You cannot give up this moment in this franchise history. We used to have it way too much in the 80s and 90s where we had the top 10 pick, a top 5 pick. You haven't had this opportunity in a while. You have to take advantage of this. You have to. Toddy says, I can accurately see the Falcons trading up to number 2 because I think Fields would be the second pick. Again, it wouldn't hurt my feelings if they did. But it also, they're going to probably make a decision, Toddy, I think, on Darnold sooner than later. If I'm not mistaken, free agency, I think it's in March, right? Or when they start the new season. If they're going to move on from him, I think they have to make that decision pretty early. You're not going to have Darnold backing up Fields or Lawrence. You're not going to have him doing that. You're not going to have two young guys backing up each other, I don't think. So I think they'll make a move, whether it be via trade or via just releasing him before the draft. So from that standpoint, I'm not sure if I do that. Jimmy said, our fans won't let Matt try and teach him. They'll feel like he ain't black enough. These fans are retarded in that aspect. Look, I try to stay away from the racial aspects because I know where I live. I know we're in Atlanta, and I understand the sentiment of what people think about having a black quarterback here, a black coach here, black GM here. And I get all that. But you know what? When you're 4-12 and you're 7-9 and you're 7-9, I'm going to tell y'all right now, I don't care. I need somebody that's going to win. And if it's somebody coming over from Japan that knows how to coach a team and it's somebody from Australia who can come over here and throw the ball 40 yards down the field on the dime, or if it's somebody from Vietnam who can come over and run the ball and have a 4.2 40, I don't really care about all that, but I get it. From a business standpoint and from where we are, I get it. But that doesn't move me. You know what moves me? Being 10-6, being 11-5, being relevant. Right now, we're not relevant. And when you're not relevant, all that crap is just fodder. And people who waste time with that narrative is fodder. Win the games. If we win the games, nobody cares. Nobody was talking about that in 2016. Nobody. Nobody's talking about that. I want to win the game. Save all that other stuff for election hoopla and stuff. I'm not getting into all that. You know what I want to get in? I want to get into having a winning franchise. Am I naive enough not to think that Justin Fields looking like most of the city, looking like what is most in Atlanta? Of course I'm not that naive. From a business standpoint and from a look standpoint, I get that. But that's not the most important thing to me. The most important thing is bringing in somebody who can win. That's what I want to win. What's going on, Brother Travis? How you doing? Brother Sean, what's going on, man? Everything is good, brother. Loved. Thank you again for streaming all year long, brother. We appreciate that. It's awesome to get in there with all the folks that get a chance to hobgob together and watch the game. Thank you, as usual. Look forward to doing that over again. Let me get into one other aspect that I wanted to talk to y'all about, and I meaning to do this before the new year, but I did want to bring it up. So I don't want y'all to get too upset because we have a tendency to get upset as a franchise. But I called this segment in 2021 called Don't Be Surprised. Don't be surprised. So one of the things we've been talking about all year long is Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan this year, again, threw for 4,000 yards, empty stats. Again, completion percentage over 60%, empty stats. So all that, 3 straight years of 4,000 yards, three straight years where you're out of the playoffs. But I'm telling y'all, don't be surprised if Matt Ryan is the starting quarterback on opening day. And this is not saying that Matt Ryan is the best option on opening day. This is a product of the last regime throwing way too much money into Matt Ryan before really trying to get the results, trying to see from a result standpoint what he would do. I think they made their move way too soon on that. So not only that, but we have money that we took from his contract and backloaded because we thought Matt was going to still be performing up to the 2016 level. So we're stuck with Matt this year, y'all. And whether we cut him or not, which some of y'all don't understand, I think, whether we cut him or not, that's still money we can't go out and spend on other players. We still can't go out and improve our team through free agency. As a matter of fact, we'll probably have to end up eating a lot of contracts and restructuring some contracts that some of those guys might say, I don't want to do that. Don't be surprised. That does not mean we can't go out and get a quarterback and still put them on our roster. That doesn't. Gregory says, what's up, Steve? Definitely time for a fresh breath of fresh air in this franchise. Without a doubt. Ricky says, get us a defense. Lisa, the red zone offensive production has made me mad all season. Straight up offensive play calling, which is why I think you have to start looking at Dirk Cutter getting up out of here. Dub J, we are sensible to realize it might not be a quarterback pick. You're absolutely right. It may not be. It may not be, but just don't be surprised. Derek said, I've seen several quarterbacks I'd like to see here. Don't have a big name, just willing to come in and learn from Matt. Dude, if you don't get anything, you're going to be able to see how he prepares. Seeing how he prepares doesn't necessarily mean you're going to throw the ball. You're going to pat the ball. That habit I don't want him to have. But seeing how he prepares, seeing how he keeps himself healthy. And for a 13-year span, folks, the cat has missed 4 games. You're not going to tell me that it's not going to be beneficial for some young quarterback to see what it is he's doing to keep himself upright. Matt ain't going nowhere due to the cap hit. That still doesn't mean we can't draft his replacement. I want Fields or Lance. They have the it factor this team needs. It's not about color to me. Lawrence will be the number 1 pick. Unless Fields has a repeat in the championship game against Bama, then we can get Trevor Lawrence. It's a thought, Chin. You're absolutely correct. I still think, for my money, I still think that you're going to see Lawrence go first. I understand what you're saying. If Justin Fields puts those numbers up against Bama, but here's the problem too. Keep it real. Let's keep it real in 2020. The football season. Whose defense do you think was stronger this year, Clemson or Alabama? So if he puts up 6 touchdowns against Alabama, is that really going to be a shot? Not probably, really. Alabama's defense has been straight trash this year. Straight, for the Alabama fans out there, sorry. Your offense is gold, but your defense ain't stopping nobody. Not a soul. Michael says, Steve, where would we have fallen if we won in the draft? If I'm not mistaken, Michael, I think the worst we could have done was 7. The best we could have done, the best we could have done was 7, because a couple of the teams lost that we needed to lose anyway. But I think the worst we could have done was 7. But thank God we don't have to talk about that. Orion says Matt should feel bad about taking that money the way he performed this year and give the money back. Look, from a ha-ha, he-he standpoint, yes, but I'm sorry, folks. That's on management. If you want to overpay, and I say overpay, let me slow down. When Matt signed these extensions, Matt was signing these extensions, and at the time, the market says for a top 5 quarterback, which let's not try to pretend, coming off the Super Bowl 2 years removed, where you made the playoffs 2 years in a row, you were MVP, you were 1 playoff game, you won in 2017. Coming off that season, folks, I'm sorry. If you're an agent, you're going in there with house money. Because you're saying to yourself, okay, either you're going to make this move or I'll go somewhere where somebody else will pay the money. And then what are you going to have? You can't sit here and act like you're going to blame Matt Ryan for taking money. And if I'm Matt Ryan, heck no, I'm not giving up any money. Because if I'm Matt Ryan, I'm still looking. I say, hey, according to the stature, I threw for 4,000 yards again. Y'all keep giving Drew Brees money 12 years after he won the Super Bowl. So why not pay me? Y'all paid not Aaron Rodgers. Y'all paid Kirk Cousins more than me. Y'all played Deshaun Watson more than me. Y'all paid what's the guy they just extended down in Tennessee? Tannehill. You just paid him more than me. So of course I'm going to try to make my money as a veteran. Let me get to my other points in 2021 as well, so I don't lose this. In 2021, don't be surprised if Julio Jones is playing for another team. Now, when you start talking about taking a hit, which you will with Julio, but it's nowhere in the stratosphere that it would be with Matt Ryan. Julio might garner you a first-round pick if it's the right team. And if somebody wants to come and ask, I think I have to listen. I would listen if somebody comes up and say, hey, I'm going to give you Julio for a first-round pick. Now, if it's Kansas City, that's pick number 32. So I'm not sure about that. But if somebody's going to say, hey, I'm going to give you Julio and I got like a number 16, 17 pick or something like that, you have to think about it. This team right now is cash strapped, so you're going to be dependent on your draft picks anyway. When you're in that 5th and 6th round this year, you better be looking for somebody who might be able to start because you don't have the money to go out and pay folks, even if Matt and Julio are here. So if somebody comes with the right deal, you have to think about it. Frank says we need a different OC who knows how to run the ball. Tell the truth. Absolutely. Say facts on the last GM. Absolutely. Dub said it ain't his fault. Derek, do you think with Lawrence and Fields playing in subpar conference, they'll be able to perform on the next level? It's a good question. And of course, I know when you start talking about Justin Fields, the Ohio State quarterback thing, I understand and I get that. And sometimes you don't want to fall into that trap to say just because he was an Ohio State quarterback, but then you look at Haskins, Terrell Pryor, and Cardale Jones, and folks like that, and you say, Kurt Herbstreit, who name an Ohio State quarterback. I get it. All the way back to Art Schlichter. It's a legit concern. But I think what you see out of both of those guys and what you saw yesterday, especially with Fields, not yesterday, 2 days ago, what you saw out of Fields. And one thing I liked the toughness. I saw him take a hit on those ribs. I saw him twisting back and forth on the sidelines. I said, oh, that's it. And he comes back like 2 plays later and zips the ball down the field. There's something to be said about talent. And with the new GM to come in here and say, you know what? I might be able to surround that talent with some folks. I might have a coach who might be able to coach that talent. Not get somebody who runs a regular pro scheme. Maybe somebody who can come in here and cater to the talent set that you have. That's what people are getting twisted. Whoever comes in here is not going to run the same system that Matt Ryan is running. You want to get somebody that's going to come in and say, all I need is this player right here. With everybody kept talking about the Cliff Kingsbury thing and Kyler Murray and how that would be married really well because it was similar to the things he was doing at Texas Tech, it made sense. I'm not saying Mahomes and Murray are mirrors of each other, but they have similar traits and similar sets that you can say, okay, I can mirror that up and see how you can run this in my system. So legitimate thought. Tiny says Julio might end up involved with a deal to move up to number 2 in the draft this year. it would be something to think about. Listen to me. The Jets are in a position right now where any PR is good PR. And the Jets are definitely in a position where they can take some salary as well. They need anything they can to pump that fan base up in New York. Probably the hardest place to play as far as the fans jumping on you. Shin says the collective bargaining agreement with the Players Association will not allow players to give money back. That's an ignorant statement by an upset fan. And I understand, but bro, come on. I'm not going to get into ignorant stage. Like, y'all stop talking about each other personally. It ain't got nothing to do with it. Stop. Y'all stop talking about each other. That's not what it is. Put our anger where it needs to be against the people in this organization that has lose the thing. Y'all, we got to calm that down. We got to calm that down in 2021, folks. We got to be able to disagree and learn how to accept disagreement and learn how to debate without name calling. I love you, Shin. You know you the man, but y'all stop all that name calling out here. Y'all sound like y'all in third grade. Rodney says we need a defense that can stop the other team in the second half. Yeah, absolutely. PJ says I trade Julio for our first to the Jets for their second. So you're agreeing with Tidy, which makes a lot of sense. And again, remember, this is a different GM coming in. You don't have any loyalty to anybody on this team. If I'm coming in as a GM for the Atlanta Falcons this year, you know what? You're coming in saying, if you didn't need me, you wouldn't be hiring me. Obviously, something that the dude who was here for a decade was doing was screwing your team up. So if I come in, I'm sorry, Bat, I don't have loyalty to you. I'm bringing somebody in right now. I'm sorry, Julio. Love your Hall of Fame, potential Hall of Fame status, but I don't have any loyalty to you. I'm brought in to make this team a winner. I'm brought in to turn this team around. So right now, every single thing is on the books, man. Michael says, Steve, with the teams that would be in front of us right now, we were at number 7 in the draft, but you're still gotten a top quarterback. If not, I'm happy we lost. It would have been kind of tight, but to be brutally honest with you, if I remember looking at the top 10, there weren't a lot of teams that really were ahead of us that needed a quarterback. Yeah, Jacksonville, the Jets, obviously those two need one. Cincinnati, right behind us, they have a quarterback. Philadelphia, which could be tricky, but looking at Jalen Hurts, and not only that, Jalen Hurts is on the cheap. So I'm sure Philadelphia is not trying to get a whole new quarterback. Detroit is on the borderline because they kind of have the same situation with Stafford that we have with Ryan. And then Carolina, they just invested in Teddy Bridgewater. So I know they're not going to, and that's a really good contract too. They're not overpaying him. They're paying good money. So to answer your question, Michael, I think we would have been in decent shape enough. Maybe that Carolina one, I don't know. Lee, I would give the new coaching staff the opportunity to use the present talent on offense in a new scheme. There are redeemable players on this squad, folks. Mr. Gage is a redeemable player. Ridley is borderline all-star, borderline all-pro. He has a lot of people to go through, but he's actually a really good receiver. Hayden Hurst is somebody that I hate. It seems like we wasted him quite a bit this year. We have no running backs, which goes to my next point while I'm going through that list for you. Don't be surprised in 2021 if we have a whole new starting offensive backfield. That's quarterback included. There is nothing here, even though we have redeemable parts, there is nothing that a new GM has that should be loyal to anybody on this team. You're 4-12. You're in 4-12 team. And I don't want to hear 4-12, but Matt Ryan threw for 4,000 yards. 4-12, but Todd Gurley ran for 9 touchdowns. 4-12, but A.J. Terrell was a nice rookie, but couldn't make that interception against Kansas City. 4-12, Foye Oluokun is an up-and-coming person, but you're 4-12. So as a GM coming into a situation where you're tasked to make this a winner, it's not a lot of excuses, folks. It's really not. Marcus says, Gage had a solid, quiet season. We need pass rush back. And let me go while I'm thinking about it. I was about to just get ticked off when you see Dante Fowler, who had nobody in front of him, run in to get Tom Brady. Tom Brady folded like he in the fetal position, and Dante Fowler celebrated like he got a monster sack and was digging on the ground like he did something. And I'm sitting there with my son saying, okay, that's 3 sacks divided by $18 million. So that's $6 million a sack. Listen, I know he was in his feelings when they were talking about him being hurt this year. I get that. But I'm also like, Dante, my brother, yeah, we need that next year. We do need that. And I'm sorry, y'all, he ain't going nowhere probably. Not with that contract. But at the same time, I'm going to need you to calm all that down. It just made me that's infuriated me when I saw him go in there and get that empty sack. And that's what I call that, an empty sack, because Tom Brady didn't even try to throw the ball away. He just curled up. And Dante acted like he made the top 10 sack of the year. Yeah, I know personal pride, that was good, but that just ticked me off when he did that. Shin says if the Jets like Wilson more right now than Fields and the Falcons offer Julio and our pick, they would jump on that. It's actually listen, the trade scenarios are not bad. That's a good one too, Shin, because look, the Jets right now don't know, and they're going to be the wild card in what we do. I think if you're a GM right now, you are licking your lips if you come in here saying the disadvantage that you have coming in here that you can't spend a lot of money. The advantage that you got in here is you got a top 3 or 4 pick. And your second round pick is going to be a top 3 or 4. So you're set up well to get some talent for this team. Now it's a matter of, is the talent going to match whatever the GM or the coaching staff has in mind for the future of their franchise? And you have to go for the future of your franchise. I'm sorry, folks. Michael says, I like Hayden. He looked good today. Plus, Gurley looked good catching the ball out of the backfield. They should have used both of these players like they did today, even though I know Gurley's gone. Yeah, Gurley is gone. And I don't want everybody to get super upset about the Gurley thing. You rolled the dice. It was $5 million. You didn't super overpay for that. You paid Lana if Todd Gurley would have given you 1,200, 1,300 yards, great move. But he didn't. He gave us 9 touchdowns, but he probably gave us a less than 3 yard a carry year this year. And you lose that contract. Now, if he's willing, because he loves the atmosphere more, to take a minimum veterans contract, I'll bring him back. If he wants to take 1.5, take another 1-year contract and say, hey, I was such a scrub, I'll take 1.5, I'll bring him back. But other than that, and let's be honest, y'all, who's going to sign him to that type of money again? Is there an NFL team that's going to say, after what I saw with Atlanta, I'm getting ready to sign y'all, I'm getting ready to sign Todd Gurley to a 3-year, $20 million contract? I don't think so. So he might end up crawling right back to us. There was nothing to lose with that move. That's not really even a bad thing. Benjamin said, I had hair last time we had a pass rush. That must have been back in the Abraham days. RJ says, we really need to fix the defensive line and the secondary. Our front seven has, but you know what, RJ? I'm a firm believer that your front seven makes your secondary that much better. I think the New Orleans Saints are one of the most overrated secondaries in the game. And I know that's Lattimore back there, and I get it. But that front seven that New Orleans throws out there, they make that secondary good because they put pressure on everybody. And I think the key is the front seven. We've got to get a pass rush. You've got to get another person, linebacker, to help Dion and help Foye. You have to. I don't know whether that means switching to a 3-4. I don't know whether that means getting some more beef on the line through the middle and helping Grady. I don't know what that means, but I do know you need to generate some type of pressure. You must. You must. Juan says, where do we start as a new GM and coach? Matt is going to be hard to move, even if we get a new quarterback. Can we get an upgraded backfield, improve our secondary, and fix this pass rush? You name 3 things right there, and you're probably not going to be able to do everything this year. You're probably 2 drafts away from getting everything you need. We aren't going to be active in free agency, folks. We might be slightly active, but we're not going to be real active in free agency. It's going to take 2 years to fill those things you're talking about: upgraded backfield, improving our secondary, fixing the pass rush. You're going to have to do it one at a time. And what you didn't put on there is the future. Yeah, you did say about quarterback. We're going to have to do this thing one thing at a time. Charles said we definitely have some really good pieces for a 4-12, a smart GM, better pick the great players and discard the rest. And that's what they're supposed to do. Dude, I'm going to say it again. The GM has no loyalty to anybody on this roster. So whoever comes in here, you evaluate your team for what it's worth. Don't worry about what was being evaluated when Dimitroff was here, because Dimitroff is gone. You might want to bring your type of players in here. And your type of players may not be the same. Rusty said, is this job less appealing to candidates because of the money problems? It's interesting you say that, Rusty. And I don't know I know you guys probably look at ESPN.com. They put a really nice story. I want to say it was either Tuesday or Wednesday, where they had this little thing where you pick the candidate and it would grade whether they thought the coach was good enough and whatever. And they would, in every single paragraph where they talked about the coach or the GM coming in, the very first thing, or one of the first couple of things they mentioned, was coming into the cap situation. If the Falcons had money to spend, this would be a great opportunity, even with Matt. But with you being hamstrung, it's really going to be hard. And that's why even though I got a feeling we'll find out sooner than later, especially after hearing he interviewed Friday, because of those cap situations only. I'm not saying I'm advocating for this, but don't be surprised if Raheem Morris is the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons this year in 2021. And that's not because he did anything totally redeemable. Yes, he won a couple of games, but at the end of the day, I think he ended up 5-9. I'm sorry, not 5-9, 5-7, which still is not going to get you anywhere in the playoffs or anything like that. And there's something to me about keeping him around and keeping the same type of culture in right now. I'm not saying the culture didn't change when he took over. There was a little bit of a culture change. It was. But because of the money and because of the things you're not going to be able to do, where would you want to go? Would you rather go here or Houston? Say what you want to do about the Jets. The Jets got money to spend. So you might want to go up there and say with the Jets, you know what? I got money to spend with some of that stuff right now. We traded away Jamal Adams. We don't have to worry about that anymore. We got a fresh start. We can decide on our quarterback situation. If we keep Darnell, our costs still stay low. So from a coaching staff, this might not be a great place to come unless you're just an assistant coach that says, you know what, let me try. So don't be surprised if Raheem Morris is the head coach of the Falcons. Don't also be surprised if in a couple of hours they release a statement saying that he and the coaching staff have been released. But I'm saying as of right now at 5 o'clock on January 3rd, don't be shocked. I know it's my buddy on Fox, Jay Glazer, is saying that he's the leading candidate, along with the guy from San Francisco, Robert Saleh, which would be another defensive coach. And I'm just saying to myself, okay, last couple of times defensive coach, let's try something else. David says, if the owner doesn't change his mindset, loyalty to a fault, it won't matter because he won't bring in the cutthroats we need to say bye-bye to players who aren't performing. This is why our 11 plus lost season in 55 years, but you can't blame him for all of them though, David. You gotta start at 2001 when he bought the team. And I understand what you're saying. I will say this too, for those who've been around, and I'm sure you have too. Would you rather have this regime or would you rather have the Rankin Smith regime? And I think you would probably rather have the Arthur Blank. You know what also makes me have a little bit more compassion for Arthur in a certain way? Arthur gets involved with those players and gets involved with things outside the lines of the football field that make me have an affinity for him more than I have for Jerry Jones and other owners like that. And that's just me. It's not Arthur's total fault that he may have hired the wrong person, but it's clear that he had a close relationship with Quinn, and that probably clouded his judgment for the last year. That firing should have happened last year when they were 1-7 at the break. Because if that happened, you would have had the 8 games to start the culture, and this year in 2020, you would have had an opportunity to get a little bit better. So I'm not ready to poo-poo all over Arthur right now because you can have some worse owners. Michael said, I don't want Morris. Listen, I don't want Morris either. I'm just saying, don't be shocked. Don't be shocked. Derek said, what about fixing the O-line? I don't know, fellas. I'm just going to keep it, ladies and fellas, I'm sorry. I'm not sure. Was it all the offensive line this year? I hear everybody say that, and it's easy to go look at the New Orleans game and but we also saw things more polarized with Matt that he was doing to say, you know what? Maybe every sack wasn't on the offensive line. Maybe every run play wasn't on the running game not being able to make a hole. It might have just been, 1, we didn't have enough runners with burst, and 2, Matt doesn't know how to get rid of the ball. I saw Tom Brady on a couple of occasions. Progression 1, progression 2, progression 3, get rid of the ball. Don't hold it and take a sack. And that happened a lot more this year. So, and I don't want to just look at total fix. Could we use some help? Of course you can. We need a guard. I don't think Carpenter is the answer at guard. I still like the right side of the line. And say what you want to say about McGarry and Lindstrom. I like that side. But I think they need some help. Hennessy is new. We knew he's gonna take some bumps. This will be his first year coming in next year. He's going to be the incumbent center. I don't think Alex Mack is going to be here next year, probably, unless he takes a very degraded contract as well. But I'm not willing to throw it all at the offensive line. Toddy, if we could somehow find a real free safety in the draft or in free agency, it would do wonders for our defense. We do need another safety because that goes to my other point in 2021, since we're on that. Don't be surprised in 2021 if all 3 safeties, Neal, Allen, and KZ, are not re-signed. All 3 of them will be free agents this year. And I'm sorry, Allen is not a free agent. Allen has a year left, but his last year isn't fully guaranteed. So, so we're able to move away and actually save a little money on Allen this year. But KZ and Neal are free agents. I would love to keep Neal, but it falls back into the category when we were talking about Matt Ryan. If you're the agent for Neal had a solid comeback year this year. You would have to think about what my offers are from other teams. And he's going to get some offers from some other teams. So is he willing to say, hey, Falcons stood by me for 2 years when I got hurt? Because other than that, I know he's going to ask for $7-8 million a year, and I don't think we have it to spend. KZ, who was nice for us in the clutch, but I'm not sure if you can sign him. He's going to be looking to get paid too. These guys are looking to get paid. Allen, I think, is the one guy that I think you might have to look at and say it just might be time for him. Great interception today, but it might be time to go away from Ricardo. And great mentor on the field, but I wouldn't mind starting fresh at that position. Juan, I hope Arthur realizes this isn't a roster built to win. Now we are back where we were in 2014. As you stated, it's going to take 2, possibly 3 drafts and years to get rid of the dead contracts and roster overhaul. It reminds me of our folks down in the Bayou, Juan. The year New Orleans didn't make the playoffs that year, and they were strapped financially in 2016, and they came back and had a monster draft. A draft that they got Lattimore, what's the guy named Henderson, the guy who's getting all the sacks now, and Marcus Williams. They got 3 legitimate starters, and my man on the defensive line, he rotates, but 12 sacks this year. We've got to have an out-of-the-box draft like that. We've got to hit on folks. And I remember the mandate back in 2016 when Arthur told Dimitrov he needs to get 3 starters. Well, whoever's drafting this team, you probably need 4 on this team. Michael said, I saw some survey that said the O-line was ranked 7 overall in the NFL. And again, Michael, to your point, there are a lot of people that think that there are parts of this O-line that are redeemable. And I see some that are. But that doesn't mean that doesn't totally mean we're trash on the O-line. We do need some upgrades. Willie said they're responding to Morris after they fired Quinn. Sheehan says, I would like to see Tony Rustler on the Falcons. He's gotten out of the way of the GM, and now the Hawks have a bright future. Arthur wants to be. Nah, that's not true. Arthur Blank doesn't try to get the spotlight. Sheehan, you need to stop. Dude, there is no comparison between Arthur Blank and Jerry Jones. Stop. And matter of fact, I know you're probably drinking right now. So show me whatever that is you're drinking. Come on, Shin. You know better than that. Arthur Blank does not want to be the new Jerry Jones. Matter of fact, I say, when you start talking, I will say this. I think Arthur Blank is probably, if you think about it, the opposite. I would kind of want him to hold Quinn and TD accountable. I think they have probably sat back and not done anything, Arthur, from his standpoint. But you can't compare him to that. That's not true. Benjamin says 100% facts. How many times have we seen Matt get rid of the ball in the pocket? Brady does this every game. Tidy Neal really came on strong the second half of the season. He really did. Paul says, I'm so tired of these broadcasters saying Julio's being a good coach. Ugh! It started about 4 games ago. And I'm mad, Paul, because you are, the little emoji that has the bullseye in the middle of it. You are so point on. This is like the 4th straight week. Look at Julio mentoring the wide receivers. Look at him actively. And I see Julio doing that. I'm saying, shoot, he doing that move out there on the field. He should. Let's try that hamstring out. That's $22 million sitting on the sideline talking about coaching. Look at him be a great. Stop that. And again, the same passion and the same energy y'all give Matt when Matt screws up. You need to get that energy to Julio too. You got to get that energy to Julio. Because Julio's not on the field. And Julio dropped passes this year, Chicago. You have to give that same energy. There are folks that are scared to say Julio is not perfect. And I'm not telling anybody's perfect, but what I'm saying is we don't give Julio the same fact. And I know Matt is the quarterback. That's the most important position on the field. So I get that. But at the same time, you paying Julio more money than any receiver in the NFL right now. You got to give him the same criticism. You've got to. Look at him working with the receivers. I don't want to see all that. Working on the field with the receivers. I don't see him working on one of them cornerbacks for $22 million. They're talking about what he do. Look at Julio. Look at the great coach. A great, well, you know what, coach? Give us that money back. What he's doing as coaching the young boys. The game's good, really good. They don't look like they need any help. They were doing fine without you. It don't make any sense, man. Rochelle said, yes, he needed to be on the field. Amani, Arthur is not selling the Falcons because that's his baby. The only guy in Atlanta that can probably make him an offer for them right now is Tyler Perry. And look, I know we're frustrated right now as fans. When you're 4-12, you're going to point the finger at everything. You're going to analyze everything from Matt Ryan down to Younghoe Koo on how we could have improved this season. And every person on this roster between 1 and 53 has probably had a hand in these 12 losses in one shape or form. Consistently inconsistent in 2020 was the 2020 season for the Atlanta Falcons. We did not know, we could not, for the life of us, learn how to close a game because it was almost anomaly with the Dallas thing. He's like, okay, that'll never happen again. Then you do it against Chicago. Then you do it against Detroit. That stuff starts filtering in your head, man. When you're a team and you start thinking about not winning the game, but how we going to blow the game, that's a mental state. That's a state of mind. That had nothing to do with Arthur Blank. It's got nothing to do with, it has a little bit to do with the coaching staff because the coaching staff should instill that in the player. But that's on the players too, man. The players have to play. You have to get that stuff off your mind and play the game. They show the stat, and it's funny they put the stat up on the screen today, and I mentioned the stat to my son last week before they start. Atlanta was -1 in point differential before this game. They were -1. And you really look at it, that's still not bad. Even today's loss, what was it, 44-27? So -1, -18. So they were 4-12 and only got outscored by 18 points this year. That tells me that you're inconsistent. That tells me that you're not finishing games. That tells me that you need a new voice in that locker room. That tells me that somebody needs to put some pressure instead of rah-rah and embrace the suck and, get fired up and, stuff like that. That tells me that you need an infusion into this franchise. And that's why we're hiring a new general manager and a new head coach this year. You've got to. Michael said, Steve, I really like Urban Meyer. The guy's a proven winner, and that means something. A winning culture is what he would bring us. I'm a little shaky on Urban Meyer because Urban Meyer for the last couple of years has kind of been like, oh, yeah, I want to do it. I don't want to do it. Yeah, I want to do it. I don't want to do it. And I know he got in a little trouble in Ohio State, which a lot of people think is one of the reasons why. And then he had some health stuff going on with Ohio State as well. I'm not sure if I would go into the Urban Meyer thing. You're absolutely right about a winning culture. That's what we need. We need somebody to cement a foundation here that embraces winning and embraces a winning attitude. You're absolutely right. I'm not sure if I would go with Urban Meyer in that case. And especially, listen, he gets some status and gets some love from being a successful coach who's won the Natty, I think 2 times, right? But there's something, I don't know. Maybe we're going to have pretty much a young team next year. I don't know whether that's bringing in a younger coach to be able to relate to these guys or not. I'm not sure if Urban Meyer is that guy. Armani says Tyler's the only person that got I know that got that kind of money to offer Arthur. When things don't go Urban Meyer's way. He's faking sickness. Well, I don't want to go to faking the sickness, but there is something to be said, Armani, about he doesn't really finish what he started. He left Florida in a huff. He left Ohio State in a huff. Who was that he teased? There was somebody he teased team-wise that he was going to go to in college. I can't remember who it was that he said he might end up going, but he did not. But I don't know. And then I also had one of the last points I had to don't be surprised. Don't be surprised in 2021 if we go 6-10 or worse. Folks, we are starting over. We are starting over the franchise. We are starting over this team's identity. There is a chance that we might not be as close. The thing we've had with us over the last 5 years, if we've been real close, but we haven't been able to push the door down. I think what you're going to have this year is a turnover in the type of player that's coming in here. Thomas Dimitroff had a type of player that came in here. Dan Quinn wanted a type of player to come in. The new GM is not going to prescribe to that same scenario. A new GM is going to want to bring his folks, his coaching, his philosophy, and probably going to bring in a coach that's in lockstep with that. So with that change, is probably not going to, it may not give the results as quick as we want them. There's a possibility that we could go 6-10 next couple of years. Rusty said, I seen an article today about Todd Bowles emerging as a favorite for the 8C spot. Yuck, puke, and ugh. Yeah, I'm not sure about Todd Bowles, especially seeing those young guys that were playing out there on the field. I know you were missing Devin White. I know you were listening to Shaq Barrett. I get that. But, yeah, Tampa Bay's defense wasn't exactly the fact that you gave up all those points against us. Really, these last two games, 27 this game, and was it 23 the last game, or 27, whatever it was, the last game? Yeah, Todd Bowles, I'm not feeling him as much. RJ, we need an offensive genius to be the head coach or offense coordinator. We desperately need an upgrade to date the offense. That's kind of where I'm going. And whether the coach is the offensive-minded set, one way or the other, we need to get an offensive mind in here. And whether that means overpaying offensive coordinator that comes in or not. It'll be interesting to see whoever comes into this job, what's the first thing, and I'm sure reporters are going to ask, what's the first thing you're going to do? Or they're going to probably ask, hey, are you thinking about trading up quarterbacks? And don't get mad, y'all, if you hear the GM come in and say, oh, Matt Ryan's a tried and true quarterback. That's our quarterback right now on the team. That's what you call coach speak, media speak. If you don't think for 1 minute that the GM coming into the Atlanta Falcons is going to be, is going to be thinking about a new quarterback. If you don't think he's not thinking about a new quarterback, you are mistaken. You are thinking about staying on this job for more than 1 or 2 years. And Matt Ryan doesn't have more than 2 years left in this franchise. So if that's the case, you're not going to sit here and say, you know what? Let me draft linebacker, offensive line, running back, whatever, and not address the future. And for those of you that's so high on Ben Kirk, if I hear that, if so many, and it just makes me wonder, folks. Let's give Ben Kirk a try. Let's see what he has. Let's see if he's going to be. Folks, the cat couldn't even get out the practice squad. The cat can't even. He can't unseat Matt Schaub. What makes you think? I'm trying to think the last third string quarterback that came into an NFL team and took the job. I haven't seen it. So when I hear things like that, it kind of makes me laugh. But there were people seriously talking about, well, now we get a chance to see what Ben Kirk could do. We've had a chance to see what Ben Kirk can do the last couple of years. I know he got hurt 1 year, but You had a chance to see what he could do in practice. I'm sorry. And I know, and I'm notwithstanding the COVID stuff, I know you didn't get a chance to see what he would do with that. But I also say, come on, y'all. Really? Ben Kurt? Matter of fact, new GM might come in here and laugh and say Ben Kurt. That is crazy. But that's not the answer. That is not the answer. So don't be surprised if we go 6-10. That's something that going into the next year, I think we're gonna look at. Keeping y'all up to date right now for those of you hanging out with me. Real quick, the Arizona Cardinals are up on the Rams 7-3. The Colts are up 17-0. Look like Miami might be the odd team out. If that happens, Miami with that loss with Buffalo are hoping that there's a comeback in the Jaguars, but might not happen. The Raiders and Broncos in a meaningless game, 10-10. The Saints up 13-7. They have no running backs and may not have Kamara for the playoffs. Seattle struggling 6-0 against San Francisco, and looks like Chicago is up 14-10 on Chicago. Green Bay is up 14-10 on Chicago. Chargers tied with Kansas City 14-14 in a meaningless game. Chiefs have already clinched and whatever. Again, thank y'all for checking me out. If y'all want to support something for me this year, you look down there, you see the YouTube Steve Sports Talking More. Going to be doing a lot more YouTube. We'll talk sports. We'll talk Falcons. We'll talk local. We'll talk national sports and other things on my YouTube channel. If y'all get a chance to go over to the YouTube and subscribe, and we're going to start putting some content on there so we can get that kind of jump started in 2021 and get some action on the YouTube. We will always still stay loyal to our folks here at Atlanta Bird Game that gave us a good chance to start this platform off. But get a chance to go to the YouTube page and subscribe. And I promise you, we're going to have some new things starting this year, get a lot more interactive and things of that nature. Until then, folks, we appreciate the end of the 2020 season for the Atlanta Falcons ends at 4-12. We will have plenty of time to start talking about draft, talking about the new head coach, which I'm pretty sure there'll be some type of hiring here pretty soon with general managers and stuff like that. And we will break in to talk about that with you guys. You all take care. Have a great Sunday. Have a great start to 2021. Until then, we'll catch you guys later on. I'm Steve Sports Talking More on YouTube. Y'all check me out. Thank y'all so much for having me on here. We'll see you later.